I think the best way to learn about what artificial intelligence can do now is to listen to the originators and creators of artificial intelligence. Today we're going to be listening to Jensen Huang of NVDA and Tom Siebel of C3 AI. They're two very different companies. NVIDIA is a $1 trillion company, while C3 AI is a very innovative software company that's going to satisfy all of their clients' needs with their artificial intelligence software. But first, hang on. I am Dr. Stephen Fox. These are my personally selected stocks. This is not financial advice, as I do not know your personal situation. The first company we're going to talk about is NVIDIA, which has transformed itself from originally being a video company, but the graphics they had to do to make the games more realistic eventually applied to the real world and is being actively used today. Jensen Huang, who is now the president and CEO of NVIDIA, emigrated to the United States when he was 9 years old with his parents. He worked for Advanced Micro Devices, AMD, before co-founding NVIDIA, where he is now president and the CEO. Listening to him is an education. I urge you to watch any presentation he gives because you will learn something, because the man is unbelievably smart. He's a multi-billionaire and his net worth is about $36 billion. When you look at NVIDIA, I want you to keep in mind that their individual semiconductor chips are so complex that they're almost a monopoly. They're one of the few that makes chips this complex. And in some cases, they might be the only chip maker for a particular need. Their individual chips sell for anywhere from $10,000 to $30,000. Wow.
Jensen, thank you so much for being here today. And I want to get started just with a question that is really basic, but I think chips have been in the ecosystem a lot more lately, and there's people who probably didn't even really know what a semiconductor was a few years ago. Can you give me a very basic definition of what NVIDIA is?
Wow, that's an easy question. Well, we are a technology company that processes software for applications in domains of science that are barely possible without us. And so because of what we do, we can make what is barely possible, or we can make something that is very energy consuming, very energy efficient, or we could turn something that costs a lot of money and make it much more affordable. And so we created this thing called accelerated computing. And that was what we pioneered about 3 decades ago. And it's taken until now to really take off.
In the early days at Denny's with Chris and Curtis, the dream was probably simpler. Can you explain what your first dream was, what the vision was, even though now it's come so far to be this accelerated computing company?
Well, at the time, if you go back 30 years, at the time the PC revolution was just starting. The microprocessor was starting to take off. The CPU was starting to take off. And there was quite a bit of debate about what is the future of computing and how should software be run. And there was a large camp, and rightfully so, that believed that CPU or general purpose software was the best way to go. And it was the best way to go for a long time. We felt, however, that there was a class of applications that wouldn't be possible without acceleration. And or you couldn't make it affordable enough for everybody to enjoy without acceleration. And so we started this accelerator company, this accelerated computing company to solve those problems. In the beginning, there weren't that many applications for it, frankly. And we smartly chose one particular combination that was a home run. It was computer graphics, and we applied it to video games. And that combination turned out to have been a giant industry, and now video games is the largest industry in the world, and the largest entertainment industry in the world. And it drove our technology for 3 decades, because making video games more and more realistic, making it available to more people took a long time. And we're still in that journey, and frankly, probably early in that journey. There are now probably, over 1 billion gamers in the world, but there are 8 billion people. Someday, everybody's going to be a gamer, and so it's going to be the largest by far entertainment industry. And so it turned out to have been a fantastic technology driver for our company, and we step by step added more and more things that we could do to today, artificial intelligence.
Beyond gaming and graphics, NVIDIA has grown immensely. I think that there's a lot of things people might be surprised to hear are powered by NVIDIA. Can you just give a very simple list of some of the use cases and big name customers that people might be surprised to hear are powered by NVIDIA?
People would probably be surprised that the most powerful and energy efficient supercomputers in the world that are used for molecular dynamics simulations, to climate science research, to material science research, to quantum computing research are powered by NVIDIA. All the way to the other extreme, a whole bunch of robots that are powered by NVIDIA in manufacturing lines, self-driving cars that are powered by NVIDIA, to the Nintendo Switch that I'm very proud of that's powered by NVIDIA. So we're in very powerful systems, and we're in very energy efficient systems, and probably one of the most talked about systems today are the systems at the Microsoft Azure data centers that are powering ChatGPT, and the work that we did with OpenAI in the very beginning to now that powers ChatGPT. And I think those are really quite exciting.
I'm going to come back to ChatGPT for sure. But first I wanted to ask you about betting it all. This is something that you have not shied away from in the 30 years that since you started the company. It was maybe 7 times that you've been reinvented and faced, success or utter failure. What is the lesson here?
Well, we're in a really fast-moving industry. Technology is incredible in the sense that such enormous challenges and problems could be solved by computing on the one hand. On the other hand, the technology changes. And there are so many great companies in the world, and we're pursuing very similar aspirations. We want to solve the world's greatest challenges. And so every now and then, a technology revolution comes along. We were started in the PC revolution. After that, the internet revolution came. And all of a sudden, the companies before it, some of them didn't make it to the revolution, and some of them, some great new companies like Google and others got invented during that time. And then the cloud computing revolution came. And then the mobile cloud computing revolution came. And now we're talking about the AI revolution. And so each one of these transitions, it's very unlikely that the companies that were great before it are still great after it. And there are some companies that have made the ability to, because of their adaptability and agility, reinvented themselves along the way. We had to reinvent ourselves, in each one of those technology revolutions. And, agility is just really, really, really important to companies. And one of the things that I'm really proud about our company is at the core of our company is incredible technology. We have incredible technologists. If you're pioneering one of the most important computing platforms in the world, from use for scientific computing to genomics to digital biology, all the way to video games, well, you're going to need incredible computer scientists. So on the one hand, we're incredibly technology rich. On the other hand, we're in we're in a giant sea of technology companies. And so the ability for us to adapt and reinvent ourselves and continue to be relevant from one generation to another generation was really important, and I'm very proud of that.
Tom Siebel is the president founder and CEO of C3 AI. And I know him from the 1990s and the early 2000s. He was the founder and CEO of Siebel Systems, which did customer relationship management software back in the day. Okay, and he made all kinds of money from that. He eventually sold Siebel Systems to Oracle in 2006, and I think that's what made him a billionaire. I suspect that anyway. So here he is. He's created artificial intelligence that can be used by government agencies and companies, of course. And he was originally asked by the Department of Defense. And it's so interesting that, I mean, the internet really came from the Department of Defense. The Department of Defense wanted a way that it could talk to its various offices around the world quickly. And that was the internet, and which has been adapted to our lives now. But Tom Siebel, he's well experienced. You know, he goes back a long ways with software, and it just has added artificial intelligence. And now he has a working model and a working platform that companies can actually use now. Some startup artificial intelligence companies, they're kind of a theory. They don't really have a working product that's being used by clients. He has a product that's being used by the Department of Defense and is starting to be used by corporations. I think it's an underestimated company. I think there's a lot of growth that's going to occur. And again, you listen to him, you learn a lot. And please smash the like button because it really helps the channel.
C3 AI CEO Tom Siebel. Tom, wow, NVIDIA up like 160-something% year to date. C3 AI is up 150-something% year to date. Underneath these crazy volatile stock moves, what is the business impact of OpenAI's moves, the focus on generative AI? What kind of customer traction are you seeing? And is it following these chip purchases that apparently they're making for the likes of NVIDIA?
Well, John, in 40 years in the information technology business, I've never seen anything quite like this. I mean, the demand for enterprise AI is huge and it's soaring. And now this is on the tip of the tongue of every CEO, every government regulator, minister, okay, and every manager. How can I use AI to improve my business operations? And I think the recent announcement from NVIDIA, I mean, this is proof positive that this market is huge and rapidly growing. And I think that their sales next quarter have been increased from $7 billion to $11 billion in a quarter. I mean, this is just staggering. And this is all about running machine learning models, deep learning models, supervised learning models, reinforcement learning, and generative AI.
And there's hard work beneath the surface in having the right models by industry, training on the companies or organizations or governments' data. That's the area that you're focused in. I'm concerned. It's hard to focus on the fundamentals and not the stock moves. So tell me about what either governments are doing or by industry, who's making the most headway in generating value from this, where we're going to see steady, profitable growth going into not just you, but the rest of the software portion of the AI ecosystem?
Well, to date, the largest applications of enterprise AI have been in reliability, predictive maintenance, stochastic optimization, supply chain, supply network risk, production optimization, demand forecasting, and fraud detection. With generative AI, I mean, generative AI just changes everything. Where we'll be using these models to basically, improve human performance at virtually every job, sales, manufacturing, customer service, whatever it might be. So it's a whole new game with generative AI. People are concerned about some of the issues with data exfiltration, the ability to reinforce security, hallucination problems associated with these large language models. But what we've done in C3 AI, by combining that with the C3 platform, we've fixed that. No hallucination problems, 10x GPU less utilization. We enforce all access controls, enforce all security, and the answers are deterministic and traceable rather than these random answers that we get from some of these GPT products.
I want to mention that we've got some retail earnings that have hit the tape. Costco, Gap, RH stands for Restoration Hardware. We're going through those. We'll bring them to you as soon as we've gone through. It looks like Gap gapping higher. So all of that will be interesting. Tom, you incorporated generative AI into C3 AI systems. I remember you gave me a preview of that a couple months ago. I believe you launched it this month. What is the feedback you're getting on that? How much tweaking are you needing to do to get it as useful for your customers as it's going to need to be?
We got a request from the Department of Defense last September. We've been working with generative AI since 2020. September 17th, we got a request from our contact at the Department of Defense, and it was a Saturday email. Said, Tom, I need to be the Google for DoD. The customer just asked the system the question, and we get the answer. And so we went off in a room and with some engineers and designed C3 generative AI. We announced it in February. We shipped it in April. So we have 3 customers now using it in April. I believe we'll have another 16 customers using it in the coming quarter. And the demand for this, the response that we're getting from corporations and governments are, everybody else has been in this and showed us their slide presentation. You have working software. Let's get started. So it looks like it's a massive opportunity.
I own both of these stocks and will be trading in and out of them for the next decade, probably, knowing myself. Thanks for listening and watching. Be sure to check in next time, because I'm going to keep bringing you the technology that pops, that's going to make us money. And I think we have a lot of money to be made. We're not in a recession. The fantasy that the bears had about the debt not being paid, which would make their bearishness profitable, did not come true. And you keep hearing more and more rumors. Now they're saying, there's going to be a liquidity crisis because the government's going to all of a sudden have to get $1 trillion to pay the debts because they've gone down to close to zero. So there's always something to worry about. Peter Lynch always said that there's always something to worry about. How much you want to worry about it is another question. I don't think there's as much to worry about as what's been being presented to us for the last 6 months. Thank you.